Eh bien, c'est parti pour cette deuxième partie du stream sur Star Trek Resurgence. Je ne me souviens plus exactement où on s'est arrêté la dernière fois. Je sais juste que, voilà, pour résumer, pour le moment, c'est une très bonne surprise. Je ne m'attendais vraiment à rien de la part de ce jeu. Je pensais même que ça allait être un peu nul, quoi, pour être franc. Et mis à part les graphismes qui sont pour le moins particuliers, l'histoire est assez accrocheuse. Et le gameplay, c'est un point and click, enfin pas un point and click, un narrative game, story game, mais plutôt cool. J'ai même réussi à perdre, ce qui est assez rare. Hein. Bon, je suis pas le meilleur des joueurs, des streamers, tout ça, mais bon, quand même, ça m'a fait un petit coup au machin. Hop, nous y sommes, c'est parti. Hop. Et voilà, toujours dans ce beau menu principal. Je ne sais plus où on en est. Le prix du devoir. Forcément.
Nilly.
Que j'ai sauvé.
I'm good. Help me with him.
Et c'est moi qui me suis pris la vague. Ah
Let's
oui.
get this off.
Oh.
Medical. Got one wounded at my location. Carter. You don't look so good. You gotta be more careful. I just got here. I'm not ready to see you two get blown to space dust just yet. Now let's get you down to sickbay.
Great.
Status report.
The repair crew made it
c'est parti, je vais me
inside.
faire enculer.
EPS flow is back to nominal levels.
Pour rappel,
The SIF is back up.
Je lui ai désobéi frontalement.
Releasing the docking clamps using hull polarity minimized damage to the Resolute. We'll have some last-minute repairs to make, but if we reapportion some of the staff, we can make our departure on time. As of now, however, we are successfully moored to the station.
Good to hear. Send updates to my ready room. Commander Rydek, with me.
Aïe aïe aïe, c'est parti. Salut le Gorn. Surveille-moi, mais ne claque pas des dents, s'il te plaît, ne fais pas.
You disobeyed my orders. Well?
On va lui demander pardon.
I'm sorry for that, Captain. I did what I thought was...
You disobeyed my orders! And not just in front of the bridge crew, but the starbase staff as well.
C'était la seule règle, ne pas me désobéir.
My name's already tarnished around the fleet. But what is it going to do to my credibility on this ship? From the top to the bottom. Bridge to lower decks.
Mais non, mais c'est pas grave, t'étais pas au courant, frère.
Captain, I told you I'd be honest, so here it is. Maybe I shouldn't have disobeyed a direct order, but you were wrong. You weren't on board, and you didn't have all the information. So I made the right decision for the ship.
Salut David.
You're worried about your credibility. Put your ego aside and trust your crew.
Tous les hommes qui parlent à des femmes sont-ils de mauvaise foi et leur demandent-ils tout le temps d'obéir? Je ne sais pas.
Lieutenant Commander Chovak has already bent my ear.
I'm sure he doesn't take it personally. He'll get over it in time.
Ça marche pas.
Mr. Chovak is more complicated than he would want to admit.
Et salut Garen.
I guess we all are.
Oui, les lower decks sont très importants dans ce jeu, tu vas voir.
And if I'm being honest, I'm not sure what I would have done in the moment either.
Ah ben voilà, tu vois, c'est pas parce que
really know if you weren't in those shoes. So, let's just boil it down to you did what you had to.
Merci.
It'll have to be good enough for me.
Thank you for understanding, sir. I'm sure no one knows the burden of command as well as you do.
I'm sure you will, someday.
Putain, on a fait la paix, c'est ouf. Il a une sacrée moustache, lui. J'espère que c'est un bon perso. C'est un pour le moment, c'est que la deuxième fois qu'on le voit, c'est un perso tout à fait normal, qui a malheureusement un trauma, comme on en parlait dans SNW. Il a le trauma d'avoir perdu presque une quinzaine de membres d'équipage lors d'une dernière mission parce que son numéro 1 lui a désobéi et du coup, il est en colère, il a peur. Mais à côté de ça, c'est un personnage assez trekien pour le reste. Et Cyril dit qu'il ressemble au papa dans Invincible. Vous savez, le super-héros méchant. Mais non, David, tu parles pas comme ça à ton capitaine, ouais. Je lui dis pas, va manger ton caca.
We've got our full complement on board.
This is my favorite moment, right now.
The start of a new mission is always full of possibility.
The Orion Syndicate could sell it as a drug.
Don't let the Admiralty hear you say that.
Captain on the bridge.
Sit. Sit, everyone. You all know, I'm not big on speeches. We're embarking on the first mission since our refit. Let's make it a good one. Disengage docking clamps.
Docking clamps released.
Thrusters ahead, Mr. Handar.
Après, David, tu dis que tu as des problèmes avec l'autorité, mais tu n'es pas dans Starfleet, tu n'as pas de membre autoritaire au-dessus de toi, donc si tu as dans ton travail des problèmes avec l'autorité, c'est probablement l'autre personne qui a du mal à transmettre des informations. Donc tu n'es pas le problème. Non, alors... Guillaume, tu es de très mauvaise humeur. Écoute bien, c'est très beau. L'ambiance. Vous avez vu ce mouvement de caméra? Ah, c'est moi qui le dis. Engage, engage.
Me?
Ouais, engage.
Engage.
Graphiquement, voilà, comme je le disais, je l'ai toujours dit, je vais continuer de le dire toutes les 10 minutes, c'est pas beau, hein. On est dans les Sims 2, les Sims 3. Bah oui. Est-ce que je m'assois? Est-ce que je peux faire autre chose? Oui, d'accord, je m'assois.
Whoa, careful.
Thank you. I'm fine. Really,
You don't look fine.
Allez. Je n'ai plus de radium, je vais mourir.
I have to get to sickbay.
Go.
Commander, help me get her inside.
Coucou. Ça me rappelle... Oh. Ça me rappelle les mouvements de visage des personnages dans
that was quite a scare. A few minutes
Star
more and it
Wars
would have been one of the shortest
Knights of
tenures
the
on
Old
record for a
Republic,
first
le 1
officer.
et le 2. Ouais, ils faisaient les mêmes
Is that
grimaces.
the engineer that was out on the hull?
That storm did a real number on him, but he'll live. Just needs rest.
Voilà,
You
Guillaume,
should worry about yourself.
je suis tout à fait d'accord avec
Your
toi, c'est
iridium levels
l'animation
got
et
dangerously
l'éclairage
low and destabilized
qui,
your cell
qui
structure.
ont des difficultés.
This is definitely one of the more memorable first days I can think of.
My name is Dr. Aram Duval, Chief Medical Officer. To be honest, I've never met a
Salut
Cobra
Alien Tux.
before.
Oui, il me
You're
semble.
rare.
Je vais revérifier.
I know.
Oui. Clac, clac, clac. Oui, en fait, de toute façon, il n'y a pas le... On va baisser un peu la luminosité, si vous voulez, peut-être, comme ça. C'est un peu plus joli,
I
les
was
couleurs
going to say
ressortent mieux.
special. Your people's numbers have dwindled, despite the Federation's efforts to find a more readily available alternative to the Duridium you need to survive. Yet
Alors,
you
j'ai pas
joined
du tout écouté.
Starfleet
Qu'est-ce qu'elle disait?
and managed to thrive. I imagine the responsibility must be overwhelming. Maybe even a burden at times.
Allez, on est un chef, on est un leader, c'est un honneur.
It does make me unique, but it's not a burden at all. I'm honored to be Kobliad, to represent my people.
As you should be. And don't worry, I won't treat you like a science experiment. I just do the science and leave the experiments to Solano.
You don't agree with his methods?
I don't agree with his definition of acceptable risks. Not when the lives of your crew are at stake. My professional opinion is that the accident took a toll. More than he's willing to.
Alors, il y a un temps respecté pour choisir une réplique. Alors ça, j'ai le stress, mais lors de la première partie, j'avais pas vu la barre. Et j'ai cliqué, la barre était finie, donc je sais pas si... Je pense que ça dépend des moments. Et une fois de plus, je n'écoute pas ce qu'il se dit.
Breakthrough discovery. The major innovation. Something he can put his name on. But the more the time passes and the further out of reach it gets,
Sans risque, je ne laisserai
the
pas
more
ça.
risk he'll be willing to
Ah, mais
take.
je sais pas quoi dire.
People become blinded by their own ambition.
Non, mais moi je suis pas
I've
ambitieuse.
seen it happen before.
Ouais, tu vois, j'ai un peu peur quand même, parce que ça, c'est
That's my
grisé.
job, isn't it? To make sure that doesn't happen. And we don't lose sight of the bigger picture.
Which is exactly why I'm so glad you're here. We need you now more than ever.
Guillaume qui chipote
But I
parce
have to
que
give you
c'est
credit
pas
for
le
what
bon
happened on the
bleu.
bridge. It took
Désolé.
guts to defy a direct order.
Ouais, Alien Tux, la prochaine fois je la tente, ça serait le B du coup.
I guess word travels fast around here.
It's a
Ça pourrait
small
être cool,
ship.
ça, dans un jeu à
And
choix
everyone's
multiples où
curious
tu
about
caches
the new
des
XO.
réponses. Tu peux faire la
Fortunately, your
réponse,
cell structure's
la
almost
quatrième, et
completely
t'en affiches que
stabilized.
3.
And I'll spare us both the lecture, but I do feel it's my responsibility to remind you, without regular infusions of Duridium, you will not live. It's as simple as that.
Ouais, en gros, je suis diabétique.
Understood.
Then, my work here is done.
Mais c'est pas l'Enterprise. C'est pas l'Enterprise D, c'est un autre vaisseau.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be lurking outside of sickbay. I didn't want to intrude, so it felt more appropriate to wait out here. We were all worried about you. Or I should say I was. I wasn't sure what was happening at first, but then I realized it was your condition.
I'm feeling much better. Thank you. It's just part of who I am.
Well, being a jerk sometimes is part of who I am. So, I'm sorry for that. You trusted my intuition earlier, with the deflector pulse. I felt I should thank you for that.
Well, thank you for coming. Even though you didn't have to.
I wanted to.
I wanted. Ah,
Now, Carter, the missions that gave you that burn are quite unusual, like everything else that goes with this storm. That's a combination of hyronolin and lectrazine to counter the radiation effects. That should help speed your day.
non, il n'y a pas de liberté de mouvement. En fait, c'est
He's
on
come by
prend
a
le
couple of
contrôle
times to see you already.
et on bouge, on fait des trucs,
Be
mais
brief.
c'est souvent on se rend d'un point A à un point B, mais c'est très peu, très court, très rapide.
It's good to see you awake again.
Oui, voilà, comme le dit
I was
Alien, c'est
starting
quand
to
même
get
plus proche d'un
worried.
film
Not that
interactif.
you aren't in good hands with Dr. Duvall. You did take one hell of a shot, though.
Ah, come on. You know you can't get rid of me that easy.
Don't push me, Diaz. You do not want to see me try.
No, nope. I am not getting on your bad side.
I am a formidable enemy.
Il flirte.
Nilly was looking in on you too, by the way. But since it's just us right now, I
Là, ils sont
had a
amoureux un
chance to
petit
think
peu.
about this while I was away. And I thought it was important that I just come out and tell you. Instead of tiptoeing around it. Or worse, leaving it unsaid.
It's okay, Miranda. You can tell me anything.
On va la laisser
I
parler.
know that.
Then come on. Just spit it out.
I'm trying. Let me talk. What I'm trying to say is, we've been really good friends for a long time. But I got back here and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I want to see if there's more between us than just being friends.
Bisous, bisous. Allez, bisous, bisous.
Carter?
You don't have to explain it. I feel the same way. There is something between us.
So, do you want to find out what that something is?
Eh oui, on est là pour
It's there
explorer.
for you, and it's there for me. Why not give it a try?
Are you kidding me? I just said yes.
I wanted to be sure I heard that
Oui, voilà,
right.
David nous dit
Sorry,
j'aimerais bien un
Tim.
jeu à la Mass Effect
The patient
dans
needs
l'univers
to
de Star
rest.
Trek.
If he
Et
wants
comme
to
tu
get back
dis,
to
hein,
his
il y a...
old self.
Oui,
Of
mais moi,
course.
tu sais, dès qu'il y a des romances, hein, je
See
suis
you
fleur
again
bleue,
soon.
je fais toujours les bons choix. Et, dans le jeu Mass Effect, notamment le 4e, hein, Andromeda, est très très bien dans l'idée. Et, c'est vrai, mais jamais une franchise comme Mass Effect, Star Trek aura le budget de réaliser un jeu aussi ambitieux qu'un KOTOR ou un Mass Effect.
Approaching the rendezvous point outside Atari space.
Helm,
Rendez-vous.
bring us out of warp.
Dropping to impulse.
Notons que le Bajoran a le droit de porter son oreille.
Ionic interference surging, Captain. Shield integrity holding.
We can take it.
We are at the correct coordinates to meet the shuttle.
Commander Rydek, find us our diplomat, if you will.
Aye, Captain. Let's reduce the noise. Filter out environmental signals. I can manually tune what's left for Federation signal types.
Et pourquoi j'y arrive pas? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Ça ne fonctionne pas. Ah, il y a une vitesse. Hein. Ok, c'était une certaine vitesse à laquelle il fait. Et Shadow pompé.
I've
Voilà.
located the shuttle.
Opening comms.
On screen.
Oh,
Shuttle to Resolute. Shuttle to Resolute. Debris field. Lost maneuvering. Losing.
I can't get it any clearer. You won't get a transporter lock. It's just not happening.
Power up the tractor beam. We'll pull them directly into the docking bay.
alors Guillaume nous fait remarquer que les bruitages de la passerelle sont ceux de la KTM de la Kelvin
You
Timeline
good to run the tractor emitter?
et non pas ceux de TNG.
Yes, sir.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Come on, Diaz.
C'est Space Mountain dans l'espace.
First thing, lock onto the shuttle and stabilize the rotation.
Ah, ça c'est cool. Stabiliser la navette. Excelsior. Et oui, mais là je l'envoie droit dans un... Non, tourne.
We're pulling in debris.
I'm on it.
C'est comme la force. Non, je déconne. Désolé. That's a big one.
That's gonna take out the shuttle. Diaz, the bridge. There's a large piece of debris headed for the shuttle. The tractor beam can't handle it.
Can our shields take it?
I believe so.
Comme tu dis, Alien Tux, c'est
plot
vraiment
an intercept course.
pas particulièrement.
On it.
Ils auraient pu limite assumer ah, ils auraient pu limite assumer le côté pas beau en faisant comme avait fait Telltale avec. Je sais pas ce que je dois faire. Ah oui, calcule le point de la truc. Comme ils avaient fait avec. Comme ils avaient fait avec
Here we go.
Walking Dead, faire
Maneuvering
carrément
thrusters
du
bearing 53 Mark 17.
du comics,
200 meters on an intercept course.
Maneuvering.
Got it.
Whoa! Someone's working hard on the bridge.
That was fast.
We got the shuttlecraft on board.
Good job. We're on our way down to meet them.
20 balles qu'elle va me crier dessus. 30 balles qu'ils se connaissent.
Terra firma, so to speak.
Ambassador Spock.
30 balles.
The captain will be right down to meet you, sir.
In that case, I will wait for him here.
Je me demande qui a doublé Spock. Oui, toutes mes excuses pour l'atterrissage brutal.
Apologies for the landing, Ambassador. I was operating the tractor beam, sir. I take responsibility.
Our arrival was the smoothest part of our journey. Your artistry with a tractor beam is commendable. We thought we were prepared for our arrival in Hotari space, but it is evident my craft was not sufficiently robust for such intense ionic activity.
The storm has been pretty intense.
There was an element that was most unusual. Before you came to our aid, our maneuvering thrusters and impulse engines were rendered inoperable. So we attempted a short traversal at warp speed, only to find that we could not achieve warp at all. Even though our diagnostics computer showed no faults or anomalies.
30-40 heures.
What do you make of that? When all indications say that warp speed is possible, but in practice, we find it is not.
Je peux pas spéculer.
I'd rather investigate than speculate.
Ça va lui plaire, ça.
A sound principle.
Take readings, run some additional diagnostic checks, and we'll get to the bottom of this.
Quite logical, Petty Officer...
Carter Diaz. Sir.
Thank you.
Ambassador Spock.
Excuse me.
I'm honored to have you aboard. I'd like to get right to it. We're already behind.
C'est dommage, Star Trek n'arrive pas à se passer de mettre des guest stars. C'est dommage, parce que jusqu'à présent, l'accroche suffisait. On avait vu des personnages connus. Et toujours ces mouvements de caméra. C'est malin. Ça, c'est très intelligent. Même déjà vu, mais intelligent quand même.
Ambassador Spock, my senior staff. It's not every day that a captain gets to welcome a Starfleet legend aboard.
You flatter me, Captain Solano. But legend implies the past tense, whereas I am very much focused on our present circumstances.
I didn't mean to suggest you were stuck in the past. You're right, Ambassador. the most diplomatic choice of words.
Your experience comes from the past. But our present situation calls for it.
True enough.
We were hoping you could fill us in on the details. We got the basics from Starfleet. Two formerly peaceful neighbors are now on the brink of war.
Indeed, and the tension between them grows fiercer by the hour.
Moi, je suis, oui, comme dit David, moi je suis juste heureux de voir un jour du Star Trek qui soit pas trop dégueulasse. Oh, c'est l'espèce...
This is Tau, the Hotari moon. It is rich in dilithium, and for decades, the Hotari and the Illidians have shared a mining operation there. The Illidians provide the technological resources, while the Hotari have served as the labor force. The stability of that arrangement was the source of their peace, until recently. The Hotari have suddenly and forcefully seized control of the mining operations and expelled the Illidians from their system. That is the official story, as told by the Hotari when they requested Federation mediation. But the details remain scant. Communications between all parties have been limited by the ionic interference.
Have the Illidians retaliated against the Hotari? Or taken any action against them?
Surprisingly, they have not yet responded in kind. They were open to a Federation presence, but it is unlikely the relatively primitive Hotari forces would stand a chance against the Illidian fleet in open war.
5 vaisseaux contre une
Left
flotte.
unchecked, this conflict will result in more bloodshed, which is what we are here to prevent.
And the dilithium trade hangs in the balance.
Clearly the Hotari have been exploited in this relationship.
Maybe we can persuade them peace is the more profitable alternative for everyone. They both profited from the mines. And for the Hotari, something is better than nothing. Peace is our objective, after all.
That is correct.
Ah, c'est pas évident. On va suivre le capitaine.
If we could convince them, it would restore the peace. But we would need the Hotari to accept a difficult compromise.
Made all the more difficult by the emotions flaring on both sides, no doubt.
Neither the Illidians or the Hotari are members of the Federation, so we can't make them do anything.
Tout à fait, ça je suis d'accord avec toi, Alien. Pour du Star Trek en jeu vidéo, on pourrait profiter d'un média où il n'y a pas besoin de passer 3 heures à mettre du déguisement sur un acteur pour faire des histoires centrées sur d'autres peuples que la Fédération. Alors je lis les commentaires parce qu'ils ne s'affichent pas à l'écran pour les personnes qui regardent en différé.
Yeah, and this is one of them.
Et on nous fera pas.
That means the Hotari have no reason to trust us.
En effet, c'est dommage. De même, les séries animées, Lower Decks, au final, ce sont des humains tous. Même le cyborg et
Given the Federation's involvement in the Illidium dilithium trade, Captain Solano and I must make every effort to appear neutral in these negotiations.
Et c'est dommage.
What worries me is if this whole thing unravels and we're at the mercy of the storm at less than full strength.
We can't let it come to that.
Considering what the ion storm has done to our ship, and the Ambassador's shuttle, we have to assume the Illidian fleet has had problems with it as well. This recent surge in the energy disturbance temporarily levels the playing field.
Commander Westbrook is correct. The energy anomalies around the Hotari systems have been noted in the past. But they have never been observed on the orders of magnitude we have seen in recent weeks.
That may answer why the Hotari were able to strike back after so long. They finally had an opportunity, and they took it.
That would also explain the Illidians' restraint.
And reason to learn as much about the energy anomaly as we can while we are here. We do not want to be caught at a disadvantage of our own. So I trust we understand our circumstances.
We're operating on a strict timetable here, and we're going to be leaving for the negotiations shortly. Commander Westbrook, I want you to leverage our systems to investigate the anomaly from here while we're gone.
Aye, Captain.
Hi, Captain.
Thank you all.
Dismissed.
Guillaume demande si la voix du scientifique, celui qui vient de dire Hi Captain, n'est pas aussi
I want
celle
to
de
speak to both of you
Zhong
privately.
Li, un personnage dans Genshin Impact.
Ambassador Spock, I'd like to make a formal introduction. My first officer, Commander Jara Rydek.
Commander, as you are aware, there are limits to what Captain Solano and I can do in our official capacity
Ça y
as
est, on va me demander
representatives of the
de
Federation.
break the rules.
But someone in an unofficial capacity, your first officer, for example, would not be bound by those restrictions. Commander Rydek could ingratiate herself to certain parties behind the scenes, where they may be more candid in revealing information that could lead to a resolution.
She certainly goes her own way. Maybe that helps in this case. It would be unconventional, but I'm not opposed to it.
D'un côté, c'est beaucoup de pression. Je suis pas diplomate, moi.
With all due respect, Ambassador, I'm not a trained diplomat.
That's exactly what we're going to leverage.
I began my time in Starfleet as a science officer, not as an ambassador. We must be adaptable in the line of duty.
Well, I hope Commander Rydek will have more luck finding out what
doit
really
être
happened.
juste avant
We
Romulus.
will through official diplomatic channels.
The fate of the negotiations, the interests of the Federation, and the prospect for peace may very well depend on it.
Mr. Diaz, I understand you have already discussed the warp drive failure with Ambassador Spock?
I have.
It is imperative that the Ambassador's shuttle be flight ready. I need you both to ascertain the root cause of the system failures he encountered.
I'm surprised, Commander. I thought you would have wanted to work on Ambassador Spock's shuttle yourself.
I respect the Ambassador and his many accomplishments, but I do not derive any satisfaction from interacting with his shuttle as if it were somehow transubstantiated through its association with him. Especially when I have the entirety of this starship to concern myself with. I am not the chief engineer of this shuttlecraft.
The Ambassador asked me to take a look, and I'm ready to crack this thing open.
Good. You could learn from Mr. Diaz's focus.
I'll take notes.
Then I will leave you to it. Make note of any abnormalities in your report. Carry on.
It seems like he's warming up to us.
Yeah.
Even Chovok has to look at that face and know you've earned some real respect. And I have to admit that I owe you one. You were right to make me go first. I don't know what I was thinking.
You've pulled me out of trouble how many times? Call it even.
Il est trop gentil, Carter.
At the very least, maybe I can track down that bottle of Saurian brandy you're still on the hook for. But first, we have work to do.
Dans les jeux à choix comme ça, à choix multiples, mais je comprends pas comment on peut être méchant en fait.
All set. Let's run the diagnostic.
Je fais toujours le choix des gentils. Oh, elle est pas jolie cette. Attention. Désolé.
So, I know about your talk with Miranda.
You do?
She sent me a Priority 1 dispatch right after your conversation. I'm happy for you. Both of you.
Ces animations faciales, c'est vraiment les Sims 3.
But I'm only going to tell you this once. Don't screw this up. Because I would be very unhappy if you tried this out and then, I don't know, 6 weeks or 6 days later I have to start splitting holidays between the two of you. All because things went south and you're not on speaking terms. That just isn't gonna work for me.
Qu'est-ce que je fais?
And I know you'll respect that.
You really don't believe in me, huh?
It's not you. Or her. Just running the numbers, and things don't work out more often than they do. I like my friends, and I like our group. I don't want to lose that.
Okay.
Is that thing done yet?
Yeah, it's wrapping up. Let's see.
Oh,
Relays along the primary EPS are blown. The backup relays are all intact.
An EPS overload from the warp drive could cause that. But how did the shuttle end up dead in the water?
Huh. Well, maybe the ship's data recorder can tell us something. Here.
They were only about 8 minutes from their plotted warp point. No faults, just those warnings. What are they?
The warp field became inverted suddenly.
I've seen this happen when the center warp coil cracks.
A cracked warp coil throws a fault code.
Still, we should take a look.
Subspace variance out of tolerance.
Supérieur à la...
What does that mean?
Oui,
It means the main navigation array lost sight of space somehow.
Will the array going offline cause that?
Yes, but it should have also thrown a fault code.
Oui, mais le choix méchant, c'est rarement celui que tu indiques en deuxième.
They're lucky the shuttle
La plupart
didn't
du
turn
temps,
inside
c'est
out.
justement de taper le chien
Makes me
parce
think
que
the
le
computer
chien
panicked on the
médaille
warp field
en
equation.
argent et pour lui prendre.
Any one of these failures should have thrown a fault.
If it was caused by a system failure.
None of this caused the relays to blow. Roll forward to when that happened.
Yes,
Qu'est-ce
ma'am.
qui se passe avec les sous-titres?
So here, they take a moment to get their bearings and they attempt to re-engage the warp drive.
There. That's the relays blowing.
And look, there's another warp system alert.
They're all the same. Subspace variance out of tolerance, or warp inversions. Finally, there's a complete warp cascade failure.
Then it's one of two things. Either a warp coil is cracked, or the navigation array is offline.
That makes sense.
Divide and conquer. You want to check the warp coils or the navigation array? I'll check the other. Let's not overcomplicate this. One of these systems is likely broken.
I'll check the nacelles for a cracked coil.
Ça y est, regarde. Votre tricorder peut enregistrer, analyser des données, le regarder révélera l'invisible. Waouh! Utilisez X pour vous équiper, pour rengainer votre tricorder. Right trigger pour scanner les objets qui brillent. Vous devez être à proximité de certains objets pour les scanner. Regardez le cadre de l'écran pour voir si vous êtes trompé. Ok. Ça y est, un petit peu de liberté. Et il joue à Candy Crush. Certains objets que vous scannerez activeront le scan en profondeur. Lors du scan en profondeur, utilisez left button, right button pour changer de mode de scan. Cherchez des objets brillants. Les indicateurs du mode du tricorder clignoteront si un objet est scanné dans ce mode se trouve à votre proximité. Est-ce que vous avez scanné tous les objets de changement de maintenez left pour analyser les données. Quoi? Les bobines directrices représentent des traces de maintenance régulière pour réparer les micro-abrasions dues aux interactions des neutrinos. Les bobines centrales guident le champ de distorsion à travers son événement focal en maintenant un vecteur de poussée collimaté, aucune fissure détectée. Lorsqu'elles sont en attente, les bobines de distorsion produisent des champs électromagnétiques résiduels, aucune déviation détectée. Donc c'est bon.
I checked every coil on the port nacelle for imbalances.
Merci,
If any coil in
Guillaume.
either
Bonne
engine were
soirée.
cracked, I would have detected it. So, it must be the navigation array.
Ce type fait une partie de
Except
Galaga.
it's not. Checked and double-checked.
Well, the readings don't lie.
Here comes the security detail for the way
Bonne
team.
soirée, Alien Tux également. Merci à tous les deux d'être venus. Ouais. Ça y est, dès qu'elle rentre dans une pièce, il n'y a plus qu'elle. Faut pas exagérer.
Hey.
I'm not here.
We're escorting the negotiating team to the surface as soon as they come down from the bridge. I don't want to interrupt some important work. I was just hoping to see you before I go. The captain and the others will be here any minute now. Should be an interesting ride down to the surface.
You're the one with the important job to do. Keeping the captain safe. And Ambassador Spock.
It doesn't always feel that way. Baking in the hot sun, standing guard next to an empty shuttlecraft. But it has its moments.
Hey, Maris. Aren't these those button pushers you're always hanging out with?
Oh là là.
And you're the phaser jockeys we always beat in Parisi squares, right?
All aboard for Hotari.
That another one of the captain's railroad things?
Gotta be. I just usually zone out by the time he gets to the whole, steam engines were the warp drives of their day part. Get y'all later.
C'est quoi ce mec?
You don't want to miss your train.
I do have to go. Not gonna lie, I'd rather not leave right now. More important things on my mind.
Non, c'est trop tôt pour s'embrasser. Je t'attendrai.
Go on. Do your job. I'll be right here waiting for you when you get back.
You better be. Be seeing you.
Etzelar de Diaz. If you could float back down to reality, we still have a ways to go. All right, where were we?
So, the warp coils in the navigation array are fine, but the nav computer doesn't seem to think so.
I'm out of ideas short of field stripping the shuttle from bow to stern.
You wanna take this out of the shuttle and throw it on the bench?
Oh, real hands-on maintenance. I like it. Okay, the nav computer is patched into the ship.
The ship's computer can double-check our work. If the shuttle's nav computer is putting out false data, we'll know it.
Let's run through the shuttle's logs again.
Running now. Same. Warp field inversion and a cascade failure. However, the Resolute computer doesn't show the same subspace variance.
We're in the same conditions that the shuttle was in when it failed. Why wouldn't the ship's computer get a matching result?
What if the subspace variance was a momentary occurrence?
That's a possibility, and it would explain why the simulation under our current sensor readings failed to reproduce the issue.
But a subspace anomaly strong enough to cause a warp field collapse would leave graviton ripples for days.
Let's run with the momentary subspace variance theory for now. Roll forward to the shuttle's attempt to re-engage the warp drive. We need the conditions of space around the shuttle at the moment of warp failure.
Resuming simulation.
Il y avait un beau gars dans ta cour, David.
field calculation. Cochrane formula variables are out of range.
That right there. Take the shuttle sensor data from that moment.
Computer, why did the warp field calculation fail?
Warp field pressure returned non-orthogonal. Results are undefined.
That doesn't help.
Wait, what if we use a different ship?
Put the Resolute into the simulation instead of the shuttle.
Yeah, it should warp just fine. Unless... Computer, run the simulation with the Resolute.
Resolute simulated.
Computer, give me manual control on the warp power.
Static field intensity, warp 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Warp pressure is destabilizing. Error in warp field calculation. The warp drive has experienced a system-wide cascade failure. Warp field collapse. Subspace variance is out of tolerance. Cochrane formula results are undefined.
Quand ils se croisent, en fait, tu changes de...
Whatto?
The same moment when the shuttle failed to warp, so did the ship. Whatever happened to the shuttle just happened to us. The Resolute will not sustain warp.
We can't leave Hotari space.
Il faut prévenir le capitaine. Oh. C'est moins moche que...
Ambassador Spock, Captain Solano, welcome to Hotari. We are honored you've come. My name is Tyler Saltaris, Minister of Diplomatic Affairs.
The honor is ours, and this is Commander Jara Rydick, first officer aboard the USS Resolute. You'll find she has a keen mind, and unique insight into the dynamics between the Hotari and the Lydians.
It's very nice to meet you.
Likewise. I hope...
These must be the representatives of the mighty Federation. The reigning authority in the galaxy. Or so we've been led to believe. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen. But, either way, we're grateful you've made the time to come to our little corner of the universe.
And you are?
This is Galvin, and this is Citron, the heroes of the revolt in the mines.
Qu'est-ce que c'est ces échanges? Ah. On se croirait dans Star Wars.
Let's hope this is the last time we ever have to come here.
If you'll excuse me.
I think we're about to begin.
Did you hear the arrogance from that guy? I don't know what we're walking into here, but that guy was something.
Something about his tone tells me this won't be easy.
That was my sense as well.
I doubt he speaks for all of Hotari, so I would urge patience until we speak with their queen.
Ils ont pas l'air commodes. Ils ont pas l'air... J'ai pas de... Je cherche des noms de meubles. Ils ont pas l'air un bureau. Ils ont pas l'air chaise. Et je reconnais ton autorité.
Ambassador Spock, welcome to Hotari Prime.
The honor is mine, Your Majesty.
That the Federation would send one of their most respected representatives is not only an honor to the Hotari people and their queen, but a recognition of our stature and importance.
Let's get on with it, shall we? With all due respect to the Federation and their ambassador, they have no authority here. We are not members of their alliance. We are not subject to their rule, nor yours. We demand the immediate return of all mining operations to Elydian control, as it has been for centuries and will be for centuries more. That has always been our understanding.
That understanding has changed.
Then you invite war!
And if you cannot remain silent, you will be silenced. But his point is well taken. What is the Federation's interest in this matter? Perhaps you would have us trade one oppressor for another?
The Federation remains neutral. Our only interest is the peaceful resolution of this conflict. We are here at your request, Your Majesty.
For now.
Saying this wouldn't be easy was an understatement. I thought they wanted us here.
Coriace.
Was there something you wanted to say, Captain?
Oh, no. My apologies.
And what about the Kobliad?
She's not
She can speak for herself, can't she? Then let her.
De toute façon, ça, David, dès que quelqu'un dit with all due respect, ou avec tout le respect que je vous dois, en vrai, ça veut dire je vous emmerde. Quel que soit le ton et quelle que soit la phrase dite après. Coucou.
Now then, what is your name?
Commander Jara Rydek, Your Majesty.
Being a Kobliad, you would know better than anyone. Your people suffered brutal treatment at the hands of the Cardassians. Their injustice towards the Kobliad is as unimaginable as it is unforgivable. Not unlike how we have been treated by the Elydians.
As much as they'd have you believe they are the victims here, remember it was the Hotari who attacked us. Hundreds of innocent Elydians were slaughtered without mercy in those mines.
The blood is on their hands, not ours!
Quiet! If after all the Kobliad suffered, you finally had the chance to right that wrong, to get out from under their control, would you take it? Or would you negotiate a peace?
On négocie une paix.
There is no remedy for what the Kobliad suffered, and I fear who we might have become in pursuit of it. There is no justice if the oppressed become the oppressor. So I would willingly accept a peaceful resolution if it were offered. That is the real opportunity.
Perhaps, Commander Rydek. Perhaps. Unfortunately, that was not the case, was it?
No, it was not.
Peace is often elusive to those who need it most. The Federation is the most powerful, most advanced alliance in the galaxy. It's widely known we have an abundance of dilithium in our mines. And it's in your interest to secure a steady supply.
Your Majesty, if I may.
Ambassador Spock would have us believe you're here as a neutral party in the interest of peace. So why are you really here? I want the truth, not your Federation rhetoric.
Oui, le dilithium est un facteur.
It's possible the Federation has an interest in both peace and securing a steady source of dilithium. One does not preclude or prevent the other. But that's just my personal opinion.
Given the Federation has done business with the Elydians for decades, I would agree. It's entirely possible, if not highly likely.
What they haven't said, but cannot deny, is a simple truth. The dilithium trade would not and will no longer exist without Elydian involvement. We created it for the benefit of everyone,
Especially the Hotari. We've given them warp technology. We've let them share in the profits. We've made their lives infinitely better than before dilithium was discovered. All of that goes away if the Federation turns a blind eye to their treachery.
That is enough of your lies! The Hotari are quite capable of running the mines. We've done so for centuries. Don't tell me, who deserves control of the dilithium trade and the mines on Tau?
Oh no.
Who should the Federation recognize? The Hotari or the
C'est nul
Alliance?
parce que évidemment tout est fait pour que tu dises les
Only be one or the other, not both.
Ça ne marche pas. C'est ridicule. Ça m'énerve.
If there can only be one, then it would be in the best interest of all involved if the Illidians resumed
Merde, c'est pas ce que je
operation of
voulais
the
dire en
mines.
plus.
And that is why we should not trust our fate to the Federation.
She speaks sense. You do well to listen to her.
And you do
Je me suis
well
planté,
to
c'est pas ce que
hold
je voulais
your
dire.
tongue.
We will take back our minds by any means necessary.
Then you will see more blood spilled.
I am more than willing to address your concerns, Your Majesty. Yours as well, Representative. But I suggest we could have a more productive conversation with a smaller group. Perhaps only the most essential representatives.
I would agree, Ambassador Spa. I think this is best left to those of us with more experience in diplomatic matters.
Spock and I will cover everything on the diplomatic front. You make nice with the locals and see if you can get some answers. We need to find out why the Hotari are so willing to risk war. What happened in those mines?
Soothing.
Okay.
Such rough terrain. No wonder the Hotari are so tough.
Évidemment, tout est fait pour que tu soutiennes les Hotari. Et bon, que veux-tu? J'ai merdé. J'assume, c'est pas grave.
Commander, after hearing so much about the Federation's sense of fairness and justice, I was surprised that you sided with the Illidians. In all honesty, I expected more, especially from someone like you.
Le Hotari ont tant le droit. Voilà.
Even though the
Tu
Illidians
dis à
should
la reine
retain
le truc.
control, the Hotari have an equal claim and should share in the profits as partners.
I'm afraid it's too late for that.
I assume you were there the day the mines were seized from the Illidians.
Not seized, reclaimed, and restored to their rightful owners. Yes, I was there. We had to be decisive, before the Illidians could even realize their worst nightmares upon them.
Were the Hotari miners armed during the revolt? I'm just trying to understand how it happened.
If by that you mean armed with centuries of abuse and exploitation at the hands of the Illidians, then yes.
Which doesn't really answer my question.
We had them vastly overwhelmed from the start. They respect one thing above all else, and that is force. The greater the force, the more certain the outcome. Any talk of making peace is just that, and worth little without the strength to secure it. Which makes me wonder about your ship, the Resolute. Undoubtedly the Federation's finest warship. Ready to contend with anything the Illydians might have in store. Or is that not true? Maybe I've misjudged it.
C'est un vaisseau scientifique.
It wasn't designed as a warship. More for scientific research and exploration.
But the Federation must have ships designed for war.
Technically, they're Starfleet ships representing the Federation. But yes.
I see.
Sidron.
A pleasure meeting you, Commander. I'm sure we'll cross paths again.
I have to say, I fully expected you to side with the Hotari. But obviously the Federation wants a steady supply of dilithium. Something only we can offer. Without Illydian involvement, there is no dilithium trade. Left to the Hotari, it would be nothing short of a disaster.
Restoring the status quo and returning the mines to Illydian control offers a stability that can be mutually beneficial.
Well said. In that case, everyone wins and there's no need for bloodshed. Major Salit Arminta, Special Attaché, Illydian Armed Forces. Pleasure to meet you, Commander. I have my issues with the Hotari, but I have to give them some credit. They know how to seize an opportunity. Inciting an uprising the same day as a massive, once-in-a-lifetime ion storm.
Our assumption was that this storm was just an anomaly.
Yes, a very convenient anomaly. At least that was what we were told. Of course, I wasn't there. But who am I to say otherwise?
You should know better than to believe everything you're told.
Well, the official story is that it was the storm that enabled the revolt. How else do a bunch of unarmed, unorganized miners seize control of an entire moon, much less thousands of mines? But I've talked to people who were there. They tell a different story. They say they're lucky to have escaped with their lives. That it was more than just the storm. That somehow the miners were able to harness the energy from the storm. I know it sounds crazy. I'm not even sure I believe it myself. But that's what they said.
You just answered your own question. How do a group of miners do something that in theory can't be done? That's how. Harnessing the storm.
But even if it's true, how does that even happen?
You tell me.
If you'll excuse me, Commander Ryder.
Commander, if I could have a quick word with you.
Of course.
Commander Rydek, I have to admit, I was surprised when you said the Illydians should control the dilithium trade. I was under the assumption the Federation was neutral. But maybe I was wrong.
I can assure you, we aren't on anyone's side. We are and will remain completely neutral. You have my word.
I hope that's true. For all of our sakes. I saw you speaking with the Illydian. I'm sure they're painting themselves as the victims.
The Illydians are under the impression the Hotari are somehow the cause of the ion storm.
Which I'm sure they attribute to our lack of experience or sheer inferiority. But we are as much the victims of this horrific storm as they are. For the first time in our history, the Hotari have the upper hand. We see ourselves as strong instead of downtrodden. New voices have risen up. Old voices shouted down. Galvin and Sidron have become national heroes. Now, they have the Queen's ear. Better or worse, depending on your perspective.
Miss,
I assume they've taken your place.
I was one of the Queen's most trusted advisors. And I hope to prove myself worthy of being so again. Which is why you're here. My fear has been that the Illidians will launch an attack and crush us. You've seen their starship, no doubt. They could have retaken the mines whenever they wanted to. But it never happened. And as strange as this may sound, I'd almost say they're afraid. I just don't know what they're afraid of. It's still the same bluster and bravado you would expect from them. But it has no teeth. Like they're afraid of what might happen.
Because of what happened in the mines. Is it Galvin they're afraid of?
It's entirely possible. But I don't know for sure. Whatever Galvin is doing in those mines is turning everything upside down. But no one knows exactly what's happening. Since the day of the revolt, Galvin has seized control of the mines and restricted all access. No one's allowed without his personal authorization. And they've taken over a section of the palace with just as much secrecy and security. I'm told it could be something they brought back from the mines. I've made inquiries, but everyone pretends it doesn't exist. I strongly suspect they're hiding something.
Are you sure of this?
It's been the talk of the palace since the day of the revolt.
How can we know?
I'd better see what's happening.
Do you think you can find out what they're hiding? I need to see proof of something before I can make my case to the Federation.
I can try, but even if I found it, I might not know what to make of it.
Take this. You can use it to capture whatever you find, and then send it to me.
Thank you. I will let you know what I find. And I look forward to our meeting again.
Well, that was a disaster.
What happened?
The Hotari refused to concede anything, so the Illidians stormed out.
The Hotari did not invite us here as peacekeepers. I hope your efforts were more fruitful than ours.
Gravitational harmonics failing to resolve. Warp bubble stability degrading. Increase output to maximum.
Increasing warp output to maximum.
It's happening again.
It is evident that presently, the Resolute cannot achieve warp propulsion.
Since our diagnostics rule out any problems with our warp systems or anything about the ship, the problem appears to be the fabric of space itself.
Space itself? You're saying something about this region of space prevents warp travel?
Prevents it, or can't sustain it.
However improbable, that appears to be the case.
We need to know more.
Otherwise, it'll be an extended stay in the Hotari system.
The storm didn't stop us from leaving space dock and traveling here. But could it still be causing this interference with warp travel?
We must follow sound investigatory principles. Do not let an assumed conclusion drive your analysis.
Oh,
sometimes we need a little inspired thinking, Mr. Chovak.
Merci.
Captain Solano is on his way back from the negotiations, and I want to have some answers for him when he gets here.
Indeed. Given the facts at hand, we may be able to deploy subspace probes around the ship to construct a clear picture of the phenomenon.
Around the ship. I'll prep a shuttle.
Quoi?
I'm setting up a waypoint at a distance roughly corresponding to the edge of our warp field. When we get there, I'll deploy the first probe.
Pilotez la navette jusqu'à votre objectif pour terminer la mission. Right pour avancer, left pour reculer. Right pour tourner. La tempête perturbera la navigation de votre navette. Concentrez-vous pour maintenir le cap. Ah, ça va être cool ça. On doit aller où? Là-haut. C'est trop cool. Oh, il y a du vent.
Commander Westbrook, the Resolute systems are calibrated to receive the probe's readings. We are standing by to reproduce the warp field collapse after the first probe is deployed.
Thank you, Mr. Chovak. We'll be in position shortly.
And, Mr. Diaz, do take care in piloting the shuttlecraft. Now is not the time to indulge in the human penchant for joyriding.
Chovak probably isn't such a fun guy to work for, huh?
Non, faut pas le prendre personnellement.
I just don't take it personally. At least I try not to.
That's a very mature answer. Shows a positive attitude on your part. Remind me of it when I start complaining to you about the ship's new first officer.
Est-ce qu'il y a un traître à bord? Non, je pense pas. We are Starfleet. On va passer au milieu de l'astéroïde creux. Allez, looping.
This is far enough. Transporting the first probe into position.
Cette petite sonde ne reviendra jamais sur Terre.
First probe is deployed.
Understood. We are reading it. We are about to replay the simulation.
Problem? Don't get me wrong. Things are definitely trending up with Commander Rydek. She's put my ideas into action. And she listened to me when your life was on the line out on the hull.
That sounds like a good thing.
It is. But I'm still trying to figure out if she's right for the job.
Mais bien sûr que
she didn't go through what the rest of us did.
C'est moi qui joue ce personnage.
Still got chosen to be number one. Can't tell if she was actually siding with me, or if we just fell on the same side.
Ne lui en tenez pas.
Yeah, but she's lucky she didn't go through what we did. You can't hold it against her.
Actually, I think I can, even if I shouldn't.
Test is running. Warp field collapse in 3, 2, 1, mark.
Il y a un vaisseau caché au milieu.
All right, that is definitely a problem with the fabric of space. We need to get another probe out there. With 2 points of data, the Resolute and the probe, we've managed to get an interference pattern. I'm setting a waypoint to a particularly strong area of interference. We'll deploy the second probe there. Listen, I'm gonna give you a piece of advice I wish someone had given me. Make sure you're never just one thing. And don't get so focused on what's in front of your face that you lose sight of the big picture. Before Rydek showed up, the captain pulled me into his ready room and told me he didn't think I had the people skills to be first officer.
Oh, ce tacle-là.
What a load of crap. I mean, if he'd said that about Chovak,
Sure.
Is that why you're being so friendly to me? Politics?
That would be clever, but I think you give me more credit than the captain does. You're all right, Diaz. And you've got potential. You're a capable engineer. You're good in the field. Keep up the good work. And who knows? A solid jack of all departments like you could be Commander-in-Chief of Starfleet one day. Hell, Admiral Jellicoe started as a shuttle pilot. And there are places to go in the enlisted ranks, too.
You know, I'd be the best leader Starfleet ever had. Lower decks always have to fix all the problems Command causes. Maybe I just save everybody some steps.
Well, don't forget about us little people when you're running things.
Of course not. You gotta remember where you came from.
Je pensais qu'il plaisantait, mais en fait, il plaisantait pas tout les deux. Et nous y sommes.
Here, this is close enough. Stop the engines. Deploying the probe. Westbrook to Commander Chovak. We're ready for another sampling of data.
C'est parti.
Very good. Running the simulation again. Warp field collapse in 3, 2, 1. On.
There it is again.
I saw it. It seems to be directional.
Well, what about the scans? Anything?
Here's the readings in relation to our local space.
Merci Marty pour le
Resolute,
le follow, pardon.
Prime, and the probes.
All this interference is overloading the sensor buffers. We're gonna have to triangulate the sensors manually.
Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire? Oh oh.
We got something.
These markers indicate peaks in the gravimetric interference patterns.
Let's see if I can find some more.
Eh oui. Ça faisait longtemps que j'avais pas réactivé mon compte Twitch. Et c'est pour du Star Trek, évidemment.
Hold up. This is coming from the moon.
A beam that blocks warp travel.
Aimed right at us.
Someone is doing this intentionally. I don't know how they're doing it. This is like nothing I've ever seen.
Why would they be doing this? We came here to help these people. And now we're getting hit by some warp-killing weapon?
Now, look here. It's our current readings of the ion storm.
These concentrations. They line up with the interference pattern. The storm. And this beam. They're coming from the same place.
Carter, whatever petty local conflict brought us here, it's just a small part of something much bigger.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, la caméra en plongée sur les yeux.
Presently, we don't have an explanation for how they're doing this. One thing is clear. This is no fluke.
Thank you, Mr. Westbrook. I want a full briefing when I'm back on board. Solano out. A targeted weapon that inhibits warp travel. Coming from the moon Tau.
That would explain the difficulties my shuttle encountered. More importantly, the tenor of the Hotari during the negotiations.
And here I thought the Elydians would be the problem. Coming to peace talks in a warship. This wasn't supposed to be so complicated.
Oui, les Alidiens, ils ont peur, hein, mais les Hotari aussi, donc on va rester là-dessus.
For all their posturing, every indication is that the Elydians are afraid of the Hotari. They didn't bring their warship as a threat.
Est-ce que tu connais Star Trek, Marty?
From everything we witnessed, I would
Quelle est ta
say
série Star
that
Trek
is highly likely.
favorite?
But what are they
Et
afraid
pourquoi
of?
est-ce que c'est Deep Space Nine?
Tylus, the Hotari representative, said she thought they found something in the mines. Galvin and Sidron brought it back to the palace, but they're keeping it under tight security. She's going to investigate it. I gave her my tricorder. I expect she'll contact us soon.
You found an ally.
Why would Tylus help us? Go behind her people's back?
En fait, il y a un traître, mais pas à bord de mon vaisseau. Non, elle me fait confiance.
Out of all of them, she's the one who seemed to genuinely appreciate that the Federation was involved. She believes in us, and I think we can believe in her.
David, toi tu préfères Next Gen.
That may be true.
Et tu as vu
She's certainly more likely to
Ward,
help than
David?
the other Hotari we've met.
That raises another question.
Oh, Martin.
Specifically, what do the other Hotari have to gain in bringing us here?
13
Only to make this
films
hostile maneuver
et
against us.
13 séries, je crois qu'on est à
There
13.
must be some motivation.
Dont certaines avec 7 saisons de 25 épisodes.
When we got here.
On va en apprendre plus sur nous, c'est
Sidron
nous
was
la
very
cible.
curious when we spoke outside the Queen's chamber. He wanted to know all about us, our ship, the Federation. He wasn't giving any answers. He was looking for them.
Well,
Mais
I'm
First
sure you
Contact
didn't
est
tell him
une
too
chouette
much.
porte d'entrée pour Star Trek.
I don't think
Parce
the
que
Illyrians know what's really
même
down
si
on
c'est
that
la
moon
suite
either.
de la série
Major Armintis
TNG
said
et
the revolt
du
defied
film Generations,
explanation. That
il
the
est quand même
Hotari
assez,
miners
se
somehow
tient en
harnessed
lui-même,
the
donc
energy of the storm.
on peut comprendre ce qui se
Harness
passe.
the energy of
Là où
the
c'est un peu
storm.
plus compliqué, les suivants.
Doing that is beyond even
Et le précédent
our
d'ailleurs, Generations, si t'as pas vu la
So is a
série
weapon that
originale,
disrupts
la
warp
série
travel.
TNG, je sais.
There have been civilizations and entities, both past and present, far more technologically advanced than the Federation.
Welcome to a much larger
Illyrians and
world.
Hotari don't fall into that category.
But that is all the more reason to investigate further.
Commander Rydek, sorry to interrupt. We've received an urgent call from Atari. The Queen's advisor, Tylus, has asked to speak.
Put her through.
Ce mec, je l'aime pas. Oh. Oh.
Galvin and Sidron are still with the Queen. I've enlisted help to gain access to the room they have under guard. I don't have much time.
I'm not supposed to leave my post.
It's only for a moment. I so appreciate your help.
I found something. I'm sending you a scan.
Il fait appuyer sur un bouton pour recevoir des infos.
Tylus, if we needed to gain access to the mines on Tau, is that something you could help us with?
I suppose it wouldn't be easy, but I have to go.
Tylus.
Can we reconnect?
Mais non, si elle a raccroché.
Sorry, Captain. We've lost all contact.
We can only hope she escaped without harm.
It was hard to tell.
Oui, nous devons l'aider, c'est mon ami.
We have to help her.
Et
Send
oui,
another shuttle.
alors les
We're not
derniers
doing
films Star
anything
Wars,
yet.
j'ai même pas vu le
Until we know
9e.
more. Let's see the scan of
La
whatever
dernière
the
fois que
hell
j'ai
that
vu du
was.
Star Wars, ah non, si j'ai revu
Tylus
Rogue One
suspects
récemment,
this came
c'est
from the mines on Tau.
aucune série,
It
aucun. J'ai
appears
tout
to be
lâché
of
après,
ancient origin, but
après
the
la
markings are
débâcle de façon
unfamiliar.
film. C'est une catastrophe.
We can run a full analysis when we get back to the Resolute. But if this came from the mines, then it might be the key to how they got the upper hand against the Illyrians.
Then we have to go into the mines.
The Federation would not allow that. We were, after all, sent here to be a neutral party in a peace negotiation. However, we could demonstrate that the Hotari have acted in bad faith, which would enable us to investigate the mines on Tau with full justification. But of course, we would need conclusive proof before taking action. Otherwise, it could put us in a difficult position.
Whatever this artifact is may be proof enough. At least to satisfy the Federation.
Especially if we can show the Hotari are controlling the warp disruption. And targeting the Resolute.
We may have a better understanding once we analyze the device. But a mission to the mines, covert or otherwise, is not out of the question. And I
Même toi, t'as
will
pas pu
handle
voir encore
the
le
Federation.
Mais le truc, c'est que si tu veux, le 8, j'ai plus apprécié mon visionnage du 8
As I was telling
que
Carter,
celui du 7.
I want all the data I can get on this warp
C'est une
problem.
fois sorti du cinéma.
And the
je me suis dit,
negotiating
attends,
team's shuttle has been recording data all the way back from Hotari.
qu'est-ce que c'était? Qu'est-ce que ça voulait dire?
Even
Et
better
c'est
than our
après, lorsque Durandal a sorti sa
So
vidéo,
pull
j'ai
the
fait, bon,
sensor and
c'est-
engine ISOs from the
j'ai
Melville
compris.
when it sets down.
Will do.
Bon, je vais arrêter parce qu'il est quand même tard et demain je travaille très tôt. Et j'amène les enfants très tôt à l'école, c'est surtout ça.
I didn't like this warp.
On va s'arrêter là. Ça, c'est assez cool parce qu'il y a un système de sauvegarde. Quel que soit le moment où tu t'arrêtes, ça s'arrête. Bien. On va laisser le fond. Tac. Hop. Et me revoilà. C'est toujours dans la même lancée. Peut-être un peu décevant par rapport à la première partie qui m'avait vraiment accroché. Je trouve on sent toujours le sérieux et le respect de Star Trek. C'est-à-dire qu'on voit que l'équipe créative est toujours a de bonnes connaissances de l'univers. Beaucoup d'inspiration pour la double espèce, là, les Otaries et je sais plus quoi qu'on rencontre, ça fait très œuvre de SFA, c'est lambda dans le design, mais le fait que voilà, il y a une enquête à mener, une fois de plus, même s'il y a Spock qui prend pas tant de place que ça, donc ça me fait du bien. Moi, j'en ai marre d'être posé tout le temps sur les espèces, pas sur les espèces, sur les personnages déjà connus. Ça me saoule un petit peu. C'est le genre de truc qui me gave au plus haut point quand on est qu'est-ce que je suis mal coiffé quand on est toujours collé aux stars et aux légendes passées. Donc voilà, je vais continuer Resurgence pour ma part. Merci à vous de m'avoir suivi en live, merci à vous de me suivre en différé sur YouTube. Merci à David et Marty présents sur le chat en ce moment. Bonne soirée, bonne journée, à très bientôt. Si vous écoutez, découvrez cette vidéo en replay sur YouTube. Restez abonnés à la chaîne parce que samedi, un tout nouveau format débarque et c'est une grande première pour moi. Là, c'est la première fois que je l'annonce en direct, donc là, je vous fais une révélation assez incroyable. Samedi débarque un tout nouveau format et pour moi, je sors de ma zone de confort. On parle toujours de Star Trek, mais de manière plutôt différente de ce que j'ai l'habitude de faire et je suis super satisfait du résultat. Donc à samedi, bonne journée, bonne soirée à toutes et à tous.